Well, it's spring, finally. Time for narcissus and tulips and crocuses and all those good things. I'm Barbara Damrosch, and if you'll stay with us for the next half hour, Eliot, Coleman, and I will show you some natural ways to grow spring bulbs and some pretty ways to use them in your landscape on Gardening Naturally. Bulbs are really fascinating little things. A bulb is actually a storage facility, and inside it is the embryo of the whole plant that's going to grow, plus a little stored food to get it off to a good start. Now, next time you slice through a bulb in the ground, and sooner or later, this happens to every gardener, take a look at what you see inside. Now, this hyacinth bulb has the germ of the whole hyacinth plant inside, and you can even see the outline of a little hyacinth flower there. Now, the reason nature designs bulbs this way is to get them through some tough times. A lot of the places where the spring bulbs we grow are native are either very hot in the summer, like the Mediterranean, or very cold in the winter, like Asia. And by making the plant go dormant, it can get through that time of the year, and then that brief time when the spring warm rains come, it has all that stored food to make a quick showing and then go dormant again. Now, all of this makes it very easy for the gardener, because when bulbs are dormant, they're easy to handle, they're easy to store, and they're easy to ship. I actually buy most of my bulbs mail order. I look for a dealer who's reputable, has a good reputation for storing bulbs in good condition, delivering good-sized ones, and also doesn't gather them from the wild. There's been a lot of that lately, and I try to find someone who makes it pretty clear they don't do that. The bulbs are actually propagated in a bulb nursery. Now, another way to buy bulbs is to go to a garden center or a hardware store or a feed store. The quality can be a little bit uneven, but if they're selling them in those open bins like a supermarket, you can actually go through the bin and pick out the bulbs that look best to you. For instance, if you're looking for daffodils, you might look for a good triple-nosed bulb like this one or a double-nosed one that'll produce more blossoms. Also, feel it in your hand and see how much it weighs. If it's a good heavy bulb, that means that it's probably not rotten. If it's firm, it means it's not rotten. And also look to see if it has any blemishes, any mildew, any mold. That would be a bad sign. Now, let's say you're looking for crocus bulbs and you find one like this that has some little growth points on it. You might think, ooh, that's a good sign. It's a little bit more faith that bulbs are alive, even though they may look very dead. I wouldn't buy this one because I don't want it to grow now. I want it to grow next spring after I've planted it. So I'd actually buy one that looks like this with no growth points at all. Now, spring bulbs are planted to come up in the spring, but you plant them in the fall. And last fall, Eliot and I planted a whole bunch of them. Whether I've bought my bulbs by mail or at a garden center, I really like to have everything all set up before I plant. If I have to store them, I'll put them in a cool, dry place. But it's better if I get everything ready, my site picked out, my materials, and plant them right away. Now, where I put my bulbs partly depends on how they're going to look. Now, I'm going to be planting some very small bulbs right now. I don't want to put them way across the lawn where I won't see them. These are such a cheerful first sign of spring that I really want to have them where I'll see them every time I come in and out the door. But I also have to think about where the bulbs would like to grow. Bulbs need well-drained soil, so I'm going to put them in a place where water won't collect and make them rot. They also like to have good sun, so I'm going to put them here in my herb and flower garden where I've just removed some annuals. This is the time I usually like to plant my bulbs. You have a lot of leeway about when you plant in the fall. But if I put them in too soon, they make too much top growth. If I wait too long, the ground will be frozen before they can make some root growth going into the winter, which is very important. Now, when I plant a lot of little bulbs, rather than plant them one by one, I'll make a shallow depression like this. I want to make sure my soil is good, But in this case, so much compost and good stuff went into this bed that all I'm going to do is put some rock phosphate in there for good root development, and then I'm going to dig it in like this. Planting depth for bulbs is something people get hung up on, but again, you have a lot of leeway. These are about 1 inch high. I'm going to put them 3, the most 4 inches down. And I'm just going to stick them in here in a very casual, informal arrangement. Now I'll cover them up like that, and just pat the soil, and they're ready to go until spring. Now let's see what else we can plant. When we talk about bulbs, we often include corms, rhizomes, tubers. These are all bulb-like organs that function in very much the same way. Now, this is a true bulb. It's a hyacinth. Here's another. This is a narcissus. They have a bud inside that then sprouts and roots down at the bottom. This is a corm. It belongs to a gladiolus plant. Also has a root down here, and here the bud sits up on top and then sprouts. This crocus also came from a corm, one corm, which I planted last year, and look how many it's produced along the sides. The central one's probably died. Again, big roots hanging down. This is a rhizome. It's an underground swollen stem, belongs to an iris plant, and it will send up shoots along its length. This is a tuberous plant. The tuberous begonia makes a little fat tuber like this and puts up little tiny pink buds along the sides. Another tuber is this elephant's ear. This huge tuber makes a huge foliage plant in summertime, and it also has buds along the sides. Now, sometimes it's the root system that's swollen underground, like in the case of this ranunculus. These little dried-out fingers are roots that will swell up and produce beautiful summer-flowering plants. Again, a tuberous root on this dahlia plant. It will also send up shoots in the summertime. Now, none of these distinctions are terribly important. They're all underground storage organs that help the plant get through tough times and also make it easier on the gardener. They're easier plants to store and keep while they're dormant. The important thing is to get to know each one, how to grow it, and the best spot to plant it in. These are the little guys we're going to plant. Glory of the snow.
Well, the Latin name is Cyanodoxa gigantea. Must have been named by an optimist. Want me to run get the backhoe?
Very funny. They're going to be very cute. Now, I think what we'll do here is try to pretend that nature is scattering these at random. And we'll just plant them in a little drift like that. And, yeah. All I need to do here is take the trowel, make a little hole, and plant them about 3 inches down, maximum. And bury them one by one. There we go.
You want some compost over that?
Wouldn't hurt. You know, I also think we ought to put some straw over this to protect it. They're very small bulbs planted rather shallowly.
Okay.
And I think the tree would like it, too.
There we are.
That'll be a good winter mulch. Now, you got to remind me, Eliot, to remove this when it's time for the little bulbs to come up.
Okay.
They don't like coming up through that. And I won't rake that off in the spring. I'll just lightly lift it off like that so I don't damage any that have started to poke their little heads up. Okay, I think we should put some of those all around the tree. What do you think?
I'm with it. Let's
Okay.
go.
One of my favorite things to do with spring bulbs is to naturalize them. And that just means planting them in a nice random way and letting them multiply over the years so it looks like nature did the whole thing. I thought what we do, Eliot, is to plant some of these scilla right here in the lawn.
Well, one thing we haven't talked about is how we're going to mow the lawn next spring with bulbs in it.
Oh, that won't be a problem. If it were daffodils, it would be, you're right, because it would take a while for the foliage to wither and you couldn't mow. But with these little scilla, they come so early and they're so short that if we set the mower about 2 or 3 inches, those first few mowings aren't even going to harm the scilla. And after that, they won't even be here.
Great.
I think this is a case where the bulb planter would be a good idea.
This is a wonderful tool. It allows you to take a little divot out.
This is a good system. You make the little holes, and I'll drop in some rock phosphate, and then I'll plant the bulb about 4 inches deep. Now, if you've ever wondered which end is up with a bulb. Notice that the pointed end is always up, and at the bottom, this basal plate, you can often see a little bit of root that was there last year. That's a good way to tell.
One nice thing about this system is that you can put the grass right back in the hole, just like the divot on a golf course. You never even know you moved it.
And the bulb will come up right through the grass.
How about another one right here?
Good. That's good. Now, like any spring bulb, this is going to reproduce itself by making little babies off the mother bulb at the base here. But the great thing about Scilla is that it also goes to seed really well, and hopefully it's going to self-sow all over this lawn. In about 5 years, maybe we'll have a sea of blue here. Won't that be pretty?
Sounds good.
When we say that a plant is naturalized, we mean that it's made itself at home and is reproducing itself in a place where it isn't native. Sometimes this can be a problem. An imported plant can sometimes become a pest. But in the case of most of our familiar spring bulbs, they're beautiful subjects for naturalizing. Most of these bulbs are native to Asia and Southern Europe, but will naturalize here beautifully. Here are some crocuses, some scilla, all naturalized in a lawn. Lawns, meadows, open woods, orchards, these are all good places to naturalize bulbs. They won't crowd out other plants the way they might in flower beds. Under shrubs is another good spot. To start them off, don't plant them in stiff rows or formal blocks. Plant them here and there in casual drifts. That's the way nature would plant them, and that's the effect you want. We decided that it was very important that we have a host of golden daffodils somewhere, just as in Wordsworth's poem. And we decided the best place for that would be right at the entrance to the driveway, so that when you drive by in spring, you see this mass of golden color. Why don't you put some compost in there? And I'll add some rock phosphate. You know, as I told you before, the bulb contains its food supply for a year, but it needs to put down some good roots, and it also needs to perpetuate itself year after year afterwards. So we're getting it off to a good start for years to come. That's right, dig it right in there. A digging fork may help for this too, so you can get the nutrients down in there. Okay, now we're ready to put in some bulbs. I'm just going to set them in there. Their tops are about 6 inches below the soil surface. And I'm not spacing them equally. Some are maybe 3 inches apart. Some are 6 inches apart. What would happen if nature did it? Okay, let's put those to bed for the winter. All right.
I also like daffodils when they're naturalized in the wild.
Now, this is going to be hard work, but it's worth it.
What I'm going to do is take my spade and dig a spade-sized divot out of here and take it out and put the bulbs in just like we did in the larger hole before.
Well, we're going to put the same soil amendments in as we did before. Now, we haven't been watering any of our holes today, and that's because we've had an awful lot of rain lately, and we don't need it. But if you were having a dry fall, or if you lived in a dry climate, I think you'd want to sprinkle the holes so that the roots will get a good start.
There we go. Ready to plant.
Okay, let's put some of those in there. And fill it up.
Now I'm going to just put the divot right back on top. The woods will never know we disturbed them.
I wanted to have a bunch of tulips for cutting in the spring, too. So what I did was took the edge of a field out here in the vegetable garden and made a big mass of them here. And I've put them fairly far apart because later I'm going to come along and put some nice bushy annuals like cosmos and zinnia in between so that I can have a cutting garden. Okay, I've set them here. In this case, I'm just going to take a big, heavy trowel and go like that. And that'll get me way down to tulip planting depth. We've already tilled plenty of nutrients into the soil, so I'm not going to do that now. And this planting will go fairly quickly. Now, one thing I should tell you is that if you live in a frost-free climate, you're not going to have much success with narcissus and tulips and some of the spring bulbs I've been telling you about. Another thing that may happen to your tulips is that all sorts of little furry critters may get hold of them. But we've got a solution to that, too.
I've made a simple protective box here by folding together a piece of half-inch hardware cloth. You can buy very easily anywhere. And this allows us to put this in the ground, throw some soil in on the bottom, and then plant tulips in there, just as if the box weren't even there.
The soil will help them to sit upright
As they go in,
and when they grow, they're not going to have any trouble, the stems growing right up through this mesh. And believe me, there aren't going to be anything nibbling that up.
I'll put that top on, fold it down, and then we'll bury the box completely. You'll never notice it's there, but you'll certainly notice next spring when you have a beautiful planting of tulips.
I'm at the Tide Brook Conservation Trust in Freeport, Maine today. It's a series of gardens and woodland paths open to the public, and it's a very good place to get ideas. There's some wonderful gardens laid out in a very naturalistic way, some of them using native plants, and all maintained with organic methods. Today, I've braved a few spring showers to get a look at their naturalized narcissus planting. As you can see, it's just spread out in a lawn, starts in the woods, and then great drifts of them spreading through these old fruit trees. This old apple orchard looks like it's been here a long time, and I would suspect that the narcissus have been too. Look, but they've even naturalized some little grape hyacinths in among them, and it makes a very charming combination. You definitely do something like this at home. Now, there's another old apple orchard on the property, too. This one has ancient crab apples in it. And Jim Satterthwaite, on behalf of the Trust, has agreed to give me a tour of it. Good morning, Jim.
Morning. Hi. Nice to see you.
Good to see you. It looks like I came at just the right time.
Well, right time for the daffodils. Some of them come out ahead of others. These, as you see, are still to come.
I see these are in full glory, the bright yellow ones.
Yep. Well, different colors, you see. Some have longer trumpets. These are short trumpets, slightly different color of petal and trumpet.
Right.
Here's a white petal, the short trumpet, different color trumpet.
That's a nice contrast.
And back over there where we just passed, there are some of the ones with the long trumpets, like what you think of as the Wordsworth
The
daffodils.
classic big yellow daffodil.
This is halfway, medium-sized trumpet.
Medium-sized trumpet.
Same color.
Right.
And here's a small trumpet with white.
Very dainty, yes. I love seeing them all mixed up together like this.
The white ones are what people usually think of as narcissus, but these are all narcissus.
Right.
Daffodils are just a name that people use because I guess Wordsworth used daffodils.
Right. And this is almost intimidating. If I were to plant something like this all at once, it would certainly break my budget, if not my back. But I gather that's not how this was done.
No, you just plant a little bulb like this, and then each year a lot more bulbs grow around it, and so each bulb puts out more flowers. So this one bulb now has, I don't know, 20, 30 flowers on it, and the little ones over there, they have only 1 or 2 flowers, you see.
Right. Have you also added to the collection over the years?
Oh, yeah, we put in about 100 a year between this area and the other area.
So between you and nature, the planting has really grown.
Yeah, the area has grown. You have to keep all the grass growing all summer, because if you cut down the grass, you have to cut down all this green stuff. And that's what nourishes the bulbs underneath.
Right.
So that you have to let nature make the bulbs grow.
So do you feed these at all?
No, not at all.
They just take care of themselves.
Don't even have to water it.
That's wonderful. I see something over there that looks like a sea of little white flowers.
Quake ladies, bluets.
Yes.
And some little bits of violets.
Yeah, just peeking out here and there. You know, it looks as if you've been doing some landscaping behind this scene with those junipers. Did you plant those there?
No, the only landscaping we do, we cut. I mean, we cut the lawn outside of here, and we cut up to the junipers, but they're all perfectly natural.
Well, it looks like a perfect collaboration between you and nature. I think you both did your job very well.
If nature would collaborate a little more by not having a rain every now and then, or not too much snow.
It has to make the flowers grow. Thank you for showing me this. This has been wonderful.
Step on the flowers.
I promise. I'm being very careful. Just what are these flowers called, anyway? Daffodils, jonquils, narcissus? Well, actually, the Latin name for all of these is narcissus. But it doesn't make very much difference what you call them. A daffodil by any name would smell as sweet. Eliot, I think it's so exciting at this time of year to watch all of these spring bulbs come up that we planted last fall, you know?
Absolutely.
The hyacinths were great. The grape hyacinths looked good. Those little species tulips, those are the best surprise, weren't they?
But that bed of tall tulips, that was magnificent.
Yeah, that was a showstopper.
I mean, we're not quite up to the Tidebrook Trust, but we're doing all right for a beginning.
Yeah, well, that was a real inspiration to see that. You know, I'd love to make this woodland area look like that and naturalize them and plant a few more each year until it's just covered with them. You know, if I were going to plant just one spring bulb, it would be narcissus. They live for a long, long time in the garden. And the first year is this spectacular. They're practically foolproof.
They sure are. And for now, goodbye and good gardening.
Next on TLC, get started on easy home projects that anyone can handle here on Homebodies. Then indulge your creative side with Debbie Stapley on Crafts & Company here on TLC.